the effort. Was I muted that whole freaking time, chat? Did nobody tell me in the past 4 streams that I've done I've been muted this whole time? I cannot believe this. This is... My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is absolutely ruined. But let's go watch the FNCS live Party Royale. There are barely any people in this server.
Into 6th place, and that's because so many of the points were kind of pushed up into Bugha on the top part of the leaderboard that makes those big performances at the end that much more impactful. And I think that's something that we're going to see here is as we get into the final games, or even if we still see that Energy Epic Whale, the 100 Thieves, Arkham and Rex, as well as Fabs, Kenshi, and Snacky are towards the top, a team who's in kind of like that 12th to like 14th range, if they win a match, they push into like top 5, top 6, and that is a huge pay upgrade.
It is, and it's also just a little bit more of a confidence boost going through to the next season as well, because it shows that, hey, yeah, I can do this, we can do this as a team, and we can stand against the best. Moving over to Lazy, we haven't really seen a lot of fights in Lazy in the finals. We saw a lot throughout the qualifiers, but everyone seems to be back over to Lazy Lake. It's going to be Kaboo, Rengoku, and Nico. They need to find something. Painting out the launch pad, but not going to fall for it. Kaboo's just going to yoink it and build away. That's honestly, no matter what happens here, that's a net positive. Anytime you can get a launch pad in this season, hey, it's a dub.
Yeah, you want that every single additional resource that comes through, but you can see these fights are incredibly awkward. And one thing I have to call out in particular is there is no way that any of these trios have the proper amount of experience to really be fighting around here, because we watched every single qualifier, every single one of the semifinals fights. It was Riverson and his trio right on top of Macon and his trio for literally, I think it was 22 out of the 24 games that we ended up broadcasting. So we know for a fact that nobody is really fighting over here as much as those trios, because you didn't want to go anywhere near them. That entire debacle was just basically like, hey, would you like to make your tournament that much harder? Just pass through Lazy Lake and enjoy fighting with those two trios.
No one really wanted to do it, and now that they have the opportunity, you can see it's stalling out. Everyone realizes, okay, wait a minute, this fight's going to take a long time. That's why Nico sent over Rengoku to go pick up any extra loot that they can. Again, another extra launch pad. They've gotten 2 out of this engagement, effectively while making sure the team below gets no extra loot. And looking at it, they don't really have the loot to fight either. They've got a good amount of weapons, but again, it's just not good weapons. They don't really have a lot of mats either, 59, but the zone already coming in, and there's another player still here. I'm glad they're disengaging.
Yeah, I would be getting out of Dodge in this situation. You just don't want to get bogged down here, and we already saw that the zone is still pulling rather like further to the southwest. It's not a tough rotation here from Lazy Lake, but the problem is the position between there and the safe zone. If just 1 or 2 trios kind of occupy 1 or 2 key high grounds, that rotation becomes such a pain to make, and you really have to either go around or be forced to burn some form of utility or just kind of like charge through a tough gatekeeping situation, none of which really set you up for success, right? We talk about Fortnite being a point management game, a resource management game, and are they on a boat?
They are indeed, and Reed's going to take the brunt of that damage. And that's the thing, is when you're in a car, when you're in a boat against this high caliber players, they're going to hit you.
I mean, cars at least have roofs on their head. Like, boats, you're completely exposed on the back. As somebody who spends like 95% of their time when grinding arena inside of a boat and just doing kind of these fishing and placement point strats, like being in the driver's seat is fine because unless you're heading directly on towards somebody, kind of the back part of that seat will actually eat up a lot of bullets. If you are on the back half of the boat, your character model is just like slapped up there like a pig at a luau. Like you are literally just free tags for anybody going through, but I guess they just didn't care because they have so much extra utility. As you can see, Reet still sitting on the 2 floppers, the 2 big pots, 4 mini shields, and they were just like, yep, we know what we're doing.
Surprisingly, they have that much. Feels like at this point in the game, every single time yesterday, we saw not a lot of shields in their inventory. They were always getting tagged up. They were being a little bit too greedy with their peaks. So keep our eye if that trend does continue. Again, another game, Sundown, of a lot of players staying alive. That first game, way more aggressive. The second game stalled out a little bit, and we'll see that here in game number 3 today of that stall out. 17 players, if it stays now, will need to fall before Storm Surge.
And this is something where we don't see a ton of 2-day formats. We don't see a ton of 6 matches one day, 6 matches into another with a cumulative leaderboard. It's really generally just kind of the FNCS finals where that happens. But you tend to get a little bit of, I don't want to say jankiness, but a little bit of something different of a look in match number 7 because people go back and they game plan. They look and see there's like, hey, where is there a gap? Is there a POI or point of interest that is available? Is there somebody who's maybe not rotating well? Or like, hey, dude, we just get completely waxed 06 off of our drop spot and we need to go somewhere else, right? Like you have the ability to kind of go check the VODs, figure out what you did wrong or what you did well and do more of that and lean into it. And sometimes that catches players off guard, but then immediately you can see adjustments come in match number 8 and we get a little bit back to kind of that typical NA West late game tournament style.
Hood is being very aggressive. I mean, already took some shots from Epicwell, Rex, and Arkham, but still being up there, still jumping around, looking for any sort of tags. I mean, they're going to need it, so it makes sense that they're looking for it, but with where they're being held out of, giving that much information over is not as good as you want it, but of course, again, it's all negated because they have the chug cannon. No matter what damage Elithie takes right now, as long as it's not them going down, it doesn't affect their overall loot pool because they can just regenerate it back. Epicwell and Arkham, or rather Rex, you see sitting up there. Arkham is sitting in that bush, and that's both great, but also it's very, very risky. One wrong play and you're down.
Speaking of risky, Elithie caught a heavy bullet there with his chest. Luckily, didn't catch it with his forehead because you can see right on top of those old Guardian Spires as well. They're not known for necessarily taking them and ramping on top of somebody. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they felt like there was an opening. They'd 100% sail. The thing is, that body shot alone basically guarantees them completely out of this first kind of Storm Surge special. Like that's generally going to end up being enough with the addition of any rifle tags, as we do see. That's an odd pull, honestly. That's about as far southeast I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to be either on top of Believers Beach or Holly Hatchery over there, but we're going over to the woods and partially the swamp, so it should be interesting. As well, I feel like I'm in the middle seat, which is honestly not somewhere I sit a ton, you know, being 6'1" and having decently long legs, so it's been a while there, but I don't think I'd want to be in that car because these guys are a little bit reckless with where they're passing through, always looking to kind of trade some shots out there, hopping in and out of the window. I'm a much safer driver. I like to avoid confrontation.
Well, and what's great about the way they've been rotating lately is they do it in a way that anybody inside the zone is not going to know it's Arkham, Epicwell, and Rex. Because if they just go in straight from Believer Beach, everyone knows, oh, that's them shooting us. So they like to cause a little bit of misdirection with where they're going. Going all the way south, this is going to be a team that players think is coming from Slurpee. So they don't really have to worry about a lot, obviously, other than these two teams shooting at them now. But again, they have a chug cannon. It doesn't matter what damage they take as long as they don't go down.
Yeah, because again, that exotic chug splash cannon, which you are able to get, there's one NPC where you're able to get it from, but almost all of these players will be getting them from those llamas that spawn out in the map as we get some pulsar and pulsar action tricks, knocking in the feed, they're able to take Nico down. You can see Arkham trying to trade the shot on over, and you kind of talked about it, those chug splash games, because the charges end up going back up, especially in the mid game, as long as you're able to be mobile and kind of keep changing these angles and not end up in a consistent fire situation where you're taking a bunch of damage, which also just doesn't happen a ton kind of in these scenarios. You're just not going to get teams full committing to a fight. It becomes so valuable because you poke out, you get a couple shots, and the other team's like, oh, it's okay, we got like 3 rifle shots, that's great. But if you get 3 rifle shots and then the chug splash cannon is able to top you off every single time without ever having to invest those super valuable big shields, it's just so good.
Moving over to Boney, we see Kenshi, Snacky, and Favs on their rotation again. They are now behind, only by 4 points, but
Finally,
once Arkham, Epic Well, and Rex have a lead, it's very hard to catch them. They are luckily above Surge, but with 16 players below, 137 I don't think is going to be as safe as they want it to be. They're going to need to look. It'll be close depending. Now 157, so they're moving up. They're getting some tags, which is great. You don't want to sit here and just be comfortable with it. But their rotation, these next couple zones, are going to be very challenging if it continues to pull this out. Because look at how many players are holding them from the zone.
Yeah, and it could get awkward very quickly because this rotation, we've talked about how teams prioritize kind of getting onto these bridges and being able to refarm the materials out of them because they are so efficient, and they create a real natural choke point, as well as having just a bunch of recyclable loot in the situations. In a lot of circumstances, it's one of the few spots where you can access a bunch of metal either from the railings or some of the under parts of the bridges, depending on where you are on the map. So, but able to just kind of back off Rexy and Co with no real challenge, but that's because, as you see to the south of them there, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 trios posted up right on top of each other, Clay.
Ooh, and it pulls to the south. This will be interesting. Honestly, if they go up that hill, they have a clear line to the zone. It's going to take them a little bit of investing, but they should see that there's not a lot of building there and should be able to make that rotation, but instead they're going to go right to the white line of it. And okay, now making that change, realizing, hey, there's a lot of people there. This will be good for them.
Yeah, they just need to kind of break that first line of sight there. You can see the team doubling back over the bridge. Rexy, Zello, high ground, trying to put some pressure over there, but they don't really want to commit to this. If they can kind of actually get above that little hill there and change, as soon as they're able to do that, if they can head interior and break that kind of first line of contact, you're set. You look down the bottom right-hand corner, we talk about white lining it. That's that straight white line, which is the shortest distance between the player we're watching and own. But now that they've kind of changed that angle a little bit, you can see where that white line before all of a sudden had 4 or 5 trios along it, but they go a little bit more to the east, move a little bit more centrally, and there's no trios there. And that's what we talk about, finding a good rotation path. And that's all they care about, because they're 503 damage above Storm Surge. They know that, hey, all of the elimination, all of the placement points come in the late game. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. If you want to stay neck and neck with Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex, every single game you have to be eking out points and doing all of the right things, because you know they are.
Great rotation will set them up for a good end game, but continuing to get tagged up is not what they want. As I'm sure just going to turn on. Only 2 players need to go down, so it's not that big of an issue around the rest of the map, but they're above. They're well above, and they should be good for the next couple of surges. They don't really have to worry about a lot, but what I'm worried about, I mean, just looking at their utility, when you have cabbages in the inventory, usually it pairs with a lot of other heals, but they didn't really have a lot. They had an open spot there. Didn't seem like they had extra big shields. It didn't seem like they had a chug cannon.
No, and it could just be potentially looking to increase the options you end up having, right? Because if you then do walk over a med kit at any point in time and you have 15 cabbages, you've basically guaranteed yourself the opportunity to get one of those absurd double med kit plays where you dip out into the zone, you take a tick of the storm, you pop the med kit, then you start popping a bunch of cabbages, and you're able to kind of get your running HP back above that 90 effective threshold, which allows you to pop a med kit in the zone where normally it wouldn't be possible without a teammate helping you. And one thing I want to talk about, this lobby was really dense. We have like 86, 87 players, and then in this transition between second to third zone before Storm Surge even turned on, because we had to rotate so far to the south and so many teams were already in between there, we've only had one trio be pressured by Storm Surge this entire time. They're doing a great job fighting it off, whoever it is. This is now just turned off, and we're just outside that first placement threshold. But a little bit of a reprieve there with the zone continuing to pull south as we get it up into the north. And this is kind of an awkward area of the map because there's a ton of trees. If somebody is able to get the Fireflies down, things can get weird. But you're also in a spot where if the moving zone pulls to the east and you start heading over to kind of that back and forth little mountain valley area, that's one of the highest elevation points on the map, those rotations are painful.
This is going to be such a hard rotation for everyone on this side. No one's going to find an easy rotation. So many people are being gate kept out. Look at that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trios inside of the zone right now.
And then one thing to note too, while you're looking at this map, any area where you kind of see the gray on it, that is a change in verticality that is super steep. That denotes like a swift change in the mountaintop. So you can see already that we have 3 trios who are posted up right in the internal, already occupying the 3 key high ground areas. Everyone else is going to be packing in around the outside and just hoping to control whatever amount of space. But one of those trios who's already up there are first place, going for the 4 in a row, trying to toss 5x in the name, the 100 Thieves duo, Arkham and Rex Energy's Epic Whale, and they're just throwing shots away. And right now, they don't seem too worried. They have a great priority positioning. The half and half out could drop right on top of their head. There's not really a ton of space between them, and I think they've isolated a solo. Arkham's trying to line up the shot.
A show below for now. We'll wait and see when that updates. They're going to be 69 above. They should be okay-ish. They're going to need to get some more tags because that's not safe by any means, but they are good.
Could potentially end up going down in the Storm Surge, and what we saw in the last zone as we got there is the aggression came out now before Storm Surge ended up turning on. So lots of shots being traded out because the teams who are below don't really want to wait until the pressure's on them. So you can see Jelty, Chicken, and Andy only 16 damage above, and with so much kind of line of sight in trees in different areas that you're safe here, if you don't already have your surge points, you're basically looking for tags on people who are also looking for surge. So you're just going to end up trading it back and forth. You can see Box by Jaquan down to just a sliver of HP as FJA also being backed off. Reet and Co. trying to look for a little bit of space as Falconer and Chris trying to get wall to wall. They're 79 below. Don't forget, they're in 3rd place. They're that horse who's just now kind of rounded the bend, hoping to get there, but he was able to get a knock onto Box by Jaquan. But I think they need to find the confirmation on the backside as Epic Whale able to pick up a knock onto Rengoku in the feed. That's on the top left-hand side. Quinn gets a finish onto Jaquan. We're going to swing on over. This is the 2nd place trio as they are 318 above, but all of a sudden you can see Snacky is down fast, able to create a little bit of room. Storm Surge is hammering down on the team who's right above them, but they are as far away from that zone as possible.
And Rex just ended up getting knocked there in the feed. We've definitely got to keep our eyes on that and see what happens. Our 1st place trio getting taken down, maybe a peg or two. No, Arkham going to get back in it. Epic Whale, though, going to get finished off there. And I don't know if it's just Arkham left or Rex is there. No, Rex is down as well, so it is just Arkham left.
Yo, give me the Arkham cam. Observers, where you at? If he's on his feet, we want to see it. If not, yeah, there it is. Thank you so much. 3 eliminations. Already have that first +5, but this could be the first time we see one of the top 2 really falter and fall outside of that 2nd placement threshold, because something we were talking about with Fabs, Kenshi, and Snacky is even in their absolutely awful games, they were inside the key placement thresholds, able to just eke out the points, getting that 23rd place, getting that 17th place in the match number 1 here. You see Arkham able to trade a big 175 tag. That was Chicken who ended up taking that, but he's going to need to then invest into the resources. We know the zone pull is going super far south. That's a decent change falling off the verticality, but in general is a little bit more of a favorable area. As you can see, Arkham just trying to have a little bit of room. If he can stay up on his feet, Storm Surge is off. One more trio needs to go down until he gets his +3. But the reality of the situation is we've seen these guys do some incredibly absurd thing. The solo impact score from each individual on this trio is nuts at any given time, and that's the amount of points they're able to accrue when they're in these kind of solo situations. And we're see where the zone pulls, and he got a pretty good pull, Clay.
Luckily they did, and honestly, we saw him going for those Storm Surge tags onto Chicken. Anytime you're a solo, anytime you're a duo, any tags you get are so great. Put you in such a good spot, and in actuality, he's not going to have to worry about Surge for this next moving zone. 100 builds as well will put them in a great spot. But again, they've got 3 elims. Fabs and company got 2. They still are up an extra 2 points on them coming into this game. What can Arkham find, though? He's going to be able to recycle that launch pad, which will be great for them. He's going to take a bit of damage rotating through, but will be able to fly right in his zone, get as far ahead as he can. And honestly, just interesting that he chose to go to the side.
That was a horrible decision. I'm sorry. He could have been able to get to the side. It was weird that he tried to land directly on top of somebody for a box there. I think he ended up missing out on a placement threshold there too, but generally you expect a lot better from Arkham in that situation. Yeah, they were outside of that top 17. So for the first time, pretty much, literally in the entire tournament that we've had the 4X, the champions coming through and dropping outside of that first placement threshold. And now is an opportunity for Snacky, Kenshi, and Favs to really push forward, open up that lead for Reed, Chris to be able to push forward and try and put their name in that hat for the top 2. But the reality of the situation is we want to stick with these guys and we want to see what they can do, because if they're able to stretch out that lead, things get real interesting going into the final 3 games.
They're above surge. They got a good amount of mats and area to work with. They're going to drop on down. Kytrex will fall. They're going to claim that mid. Now moving all the way to low ground. Can they find that? Can they operate on the low ground? That'll be what they have to figure out, because we've seen them time and time again on the high ground, in the mid ground, but dropping all the way down here, will they be able to find the same success that they've had on the high ground?
It'll be interesting because they haven't necessarily been operating there, but they have a great loadout for it. As you can see, that Epic SMG box to box, when you're like 2 boxes away, it just rips it to shreds. Doesn't matter if it's those hard builds, if it's the wood, it will tear through. As you can see, some plays being made on the backside of the zone. Is Snacky able to pick up 1 elim, but can he get the return? He's just barely enough HP with the Siphon, just barely ticking over. You can see a cleanup coming through, some Cabbages being pushed into him. They're trying to get shields down first, knowing that the Siphon will end up coming through. He's going to start popping the Cabbages. He will leave a med kit back there, though, so a little bit of a fumble risky. The placement points continue ticking over, and don't forget, they have now taken over that first place spot. Epic Whale, Rex, and Arkham went down. They got a okay number of eliminations, but weren't able to get inside of that top 17, as now we have our top 12 trying to push into the top 10. 8th zone about to close here in 22 seconds. Kenshi picking up a knock in the feed. He's also able to get the confirmation. Snacky doing a great job, honestly, working box to box and just grabbing away whatever damage he can, even with, I think he accidentally has 2 bumps in there, but it doesn't matter. He says, I'll hit the damage of 190. An immediate reset takes down Notch. That was huge.
This is a great game to separate that lead back into their favor. They're getting so many eliminations, but Falconry and Chris are still here as well. They're operating with Kenshi going down. They've got to be careful. High ground, don't know exactly who's on it, but look at how many eliminations they have. Kenshi and Fav's going to fall, though. They sit on 6. Snacky, can he get more than 2? Can they find any extra room to operate? Either way, that's still a lot of eliminations. Look at Jelty, Chicken, and Andy up on the high ground, though. They want to win another game. They want to. This is their opportunity. Snacky going to drop down. 157 is going to get the knock. That may be an elim. It's going to be on to Reed. What a big elim it was. Going to pick up the Chug Cannon as well. Has time to heal back up. Does he have the match? No pressure is there. He's going to get another one. That's going to be on to Chris. He says, you want to take first place away? Well, you're going to have to work harder than that. He's taken down first, and he took down second this game, and now looking so great.
That was a monstrous swing, both from the direct contention going through and just guaranteeing points. Jelty will secure their second victory royale so far out of the 12 games. Match 1 and then match number 9 going through to put them back in. But man, what a run and a push there from Favs, Snacky, and Kenshi to really, they're in first place spot now. We talk about tournament management, 3 games left going in. They've created a decent amount of separation. The question now, can they hold on and upset the typical apple cart in NA West?
I don't know. We'll see, but we've got to send it over to Zeke, Panda, and Kelly to break it all down.
Do I celebrate or not? This is the question that I ask myself. Because I'm 100% Team Arkham Rex and Epic Whale, but I also kind of want to see them be dethroned. Okay. We're not going to celebrate. That was a sad moment, right? That was a sad moment, Kelly.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really think so. I think that that's a good moment. I would love to see more competition, right? I was just saying how, and Sundown put it best, that it was becoming a racehorse where there's just the 3 lead horses and eventually it becomes 2. We want it to be a competition. We want it to go all the way to game 12, not knowing who is going to win. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Kelly. I think it's nice to see a change of pace, especially this is the first time they've fallen outside of top 11, right? In this FNCS, so they fell in 18th place, and for that to happen, that means no placement. Like they did get a couple eliminations, but placement points, they're key.
So rough indeed. I cannot believe that that's how it go. But honestly, I mean, I guess it's fine, right? Because they had the great game. They just had 15 elims. And now it's like, okay, you can drop a game. That's fine. I mean, we kind of saw stuff like this even last season, right? Like where they did have these almost like outliers, but it still
Hey,
didn't
bro,
matter.
can you not do that? Can you not?
Well, we
You
haven't
cannot,
seen the
please?
leaderboard just
Stop
yet,
it.
so we don't
Stop
know
it.
how that's impacted the game. I think that they're definitely still going to be in the top three, maybe even shooting down to second. But Reed lasted a long time there. Obviously, Fabs and Snacky up in first place now, 309 points. But look, I was talking about it. It's a separation from third from the rest of the pack, and that point difference now gets even bigger.
Yeah, and that it does, and that's actually a substantial difference. So over 20-point difference, and if you don't know, Fab's team came in 4th place in that last game with 10 eliminations. So they realized, right? They realized they had that victory royale, they had 60 limbs, and it still wasn't enough to hold off Arkham Rex and Epic Whale. So they said, you know what? We got to turn up the heat. We got to get some more elims.
I feel like actually what we just saw in the last game, not the one that we just watched, where Arkham Rex and Epic Whale went on a tear, and it was actually Fabs, Kinchi, and Snacky that grabbed the VR. We kind of saw that with Fabs, Kinchi, and Snacky. I mean, in that game 2 games ago, they were below threshold. They barely had any eliminations. I think with their VR, they only grabbed 6, which is a little bit odd. So to see them get 4th place with 10 eliminations, they're showing that they're not just playing passively, they're not just taking height, they can also grab those elims as well.
Yeah, they're definitely grabbing everything, going their way. But I got to talk
Dude,
about it.
stop being a dick, bro.
Climbing to 10th place. I said it every
Stop
time
it.
the leaderboard has shown up. They're slowly creeping up. They were in 12th place, then 11th, and now they are in 10th
You know
place
what? I'm not
right
really
now.
into doxing
So
people,
a
but
nice
I
little
will look at this
creep
guy's
up
Epic
into the
hand so I
top
can add
10.
them.
Could we continue to see them climb? That's the question I want to get answered.
I mean, me too. Also have to give a shout out to the team that just grabbed
Yeah,
that
definitely
VR.
do
Chicken,
not go
Jolty,
friend
and
this
Andy
guy.
now sitting in 4th place with
Never
2
friend that
victory
guy 'cause he's
royales.
rude. He's
But
not
we
gonna
have to
do-
look.
so
We
don't
were
ever
just
do
talking
that.
about it in game number 9. The absolute insanity of Epic Whale going through a tear. Once we got into the mountain zone, though, that's where things really started to heat up.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to watch game to game, right? Because in game number 8, they had 15 eliminations. Then in game 9, they end up falling early in 18th place. So finding a balance between the two is important. Having these big games like you're watching right here with 15 eliminations helps carry them that much further on the leaderboard. But we got to talk about Fabs, Kinchi, and Snacky because looking at these stats here, Kelly, this is pretty impressive.
They have 4 double-digit elimination games, and what's even scarier is that majority of their eliminations are all against the top 10. Now, I think a part of that is the fact that they don't really enter too many early engagements. A lot of their eliminations are from the mid to late game. So I guess by that point, the top 10 are the ones that are lasting. Oh, that last stat! That's so mean, but that's amazing!
It is eliminations versus Rex and Company 6, which means they have a decent chunk of their eliminations going to that powerhouse trio we know as Arkham Rex and Epic Whale.
That's what I want to see.
So Kelly is in fact pro Rex and Company because she's upset that that stat was even shown. So what you're seeing is I was right. Kelly lied about not caring. Therefore, we continue to root for Rex and Company. That's right. No. We have to see. This is going to come down to the wire. Okay, we've got another 3 games ahead of us. I think Fabs and Company can go all the way, but it depends, right? We'll have to see how Rex, Arkham, and Epic will choose to respond in this game after that last subpar game. But don't worry, they've got 3 to make it up. But for now, you heard the battle bus, so we're going back to Sundown and Clay. Let's do this.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Panda, and Kelly. 9 matches down, 3 to go. I'm about to throw a whole bunch of numbers at you right now. 27 points is what is separating first between second. Favzi, 33, Kenshi, and Extra Snacky eking out a solid lead, and now going into just trying to keep up their runs. They do have the 2 victory royales there. Now, the gap between first and third, currently 46 points.
Whew. That is a very big gap. It's so possible to be close, but Jelty, Chicken, and Andy with that victory royale jump up a couple spots there, able to put that back in their favor. And again, we talk about it. And yes, while first place and second place are currently in a battle in of itself, there's still a battle all around the rest of the leaderboard because the prize pool jumps up so much once you get into that top 10.
Yeah, but I mean, just look at the gap between third and fourth. 54 points, 100-point gap between first and fourth right now with only 3 matches left. So realistically, when we start actually talking about who is going to be your final Chapter 2 Season 7 FNCS Trio Champion, we're looking at that top 3. So really hold on. After that, it's about who's going to be passing people in the final moments and able to get kind of the key eliminations. But right now, the top 3 have done enough to really separate themselves.
With 3 more games, it'll be interesting exactly who's going to be able to keep pace. Can Arkham, Epic, Well, and Rex keep some sort of pace going with Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky? Can they catch up? And we've seen that Kenshi, Snacky, and Favs can falter early. We've seen it many different times from them. They've lost teammates and it put it all on one. And that was the first game where genuinely I was worried about Arkham, Epic, Well, and Rex going down that early.
So I'll note that Favzi, Kenshi, and Snacky do have a worse game than Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale. They ended up in the 4th match yesterday, was 23rd place, 0 eliminations. However, you still get the 5 points from getting into the top 24 there. And on the flip side of that, their average elims and their average elims is just that much higher above. They're really putting in kind of these key games where they're able to see it. I'd say on the flip side of that, though, we've seen that Arkham Rex and Epic Whale are more than capable of putting up a top 3 15 elimination game at any point in time. And that's what happened last season. Remember when we talked about it, it was like, when was that moment going to come? They were always right there. They won matches 11 and 12, right? And that's how they really put it to bed and put it to rest. In this circumstance now, though, kind of looking at the leaderboard, looking at the clock, you have to close 9 points per the next 3 games. They have a 27-point lead. That's not insignificant anymore.
It's not. Takata will take that bus back to the lobby for right now. We'll try to get back in next game and play for, again, just more money because, again, shout out to Takata. All of us have been saying it all weekend, but he's the first caster from the crew to make it into a finals of FNCS. So that's a big feat in of itself to be able to do so because, you know, I'm washed. So, like, Takata out here making it is really, really good.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Takata has been around for absolutely ever, and regardless of anything, you can call him content creator, caster, whatever. I'll still remember just watching him play at PAX West. Like, he has been around the events. He's been in all of the skirmishes. Like, yes, you can kind of look at him and see that, but he's had so much experience, and being able to also have a analytical perspective on it. Like, yes, there's some things that you're able to just do. I don't want to say do a little bit better, but you put a little bit more thought into it than if you're always kind of looking at the game as a perspective of a player. If you do kind of have to step back and do some of the coaching or do some of the VOD reviewing, that's where you're able to get some very interesting information. And you see Snacky actually with some great min-maxing, just mowing down the cornfields with one of the cars, making sure you can find all of the loot there. And he exposes a bunch of big pots. It's huge.
And he's doing it in the right car too, right? That's another step of them in maxing, using those IO cars that are just a little bit faster. So, perfect example of trying to maximize the amount of time you get in your POI. One of the first zones we'll see that pulls directly over Corny, it seems like. So they get a little bit more time here to loot everything that they want, but that comes at a danger. Look at how far Favs is away. one sniper shot, and that's Favs going down.
It's really tough. You need to be very disciplined when you're rotating through, and man, 6 days, 17 hours. Wonder what's going on with that. But anytime I see a counter in the sky and anything Fortnite related, I just get terrified. Like, you've seen what's ended up going on. Who knows what's going to come next? And the real question is, what's going to come next in this top 3, as we do have our 3rd place team trying to get on the rotation. We have a fairly central zone, and Reed, while rocking that legendary pump, is dealing with a common AR. So the swap on that side not necessarily going to be as effective, but also sitting on 10 minis in 2 big pots. So plenty of excess shields if they do want to start trying to trade out some shots. And you can see quick stat left hand side, Reet and Grim are tied for the most unassisted elims with 11 each so far.
Ooh. That is honestly what we expect from Marie, is to be that player that has those solo elims that his team is not there for. Whether they're in the game or not at all, he's still going to pop off no matter what. It's Reet. That is what he is as a player. But they're going to need to put together a great string of last games if they're going to want to catch up. You talk about they are 44 or 46 points behind. They're going to have to try to do something different.
Also, like, shout out Graham. That's a fantastic individual performance, just because looking over at his team, I mean, they don't have a ton of eliminations all the way across the board. I believe they're currently sitting at 27 or so, and he has 11 of them unassisted. Like, that's bonkers. That's a really good performance from them. As we hop back on board here, you can see Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex just trying to rotate through. There was some Fireflies, some damage out there in Arkham, doing his nice little building course there, just building out a nice terrain. It's kind of just a traditional diagonal tarp where you cover one side and you cover a ramp, and you don't necessarily have to be doing a floor because you're walking around the natural geography. It's one of the safest ways to path, and because all of this like fencing over here is real quick to just refarm up, the trees as well are very efficient in terms of wood. You don't feel bad. You don't feel bad about investing stone around here either, because you have some of those massive boulders they're able to just very quickly break down. But they need to be careful, because if they get bogged down in this spot, stuff can get really awkward. But speaking of awkward, we're going to flip on over. Our current first place team is right on top of Kadenox, Turtle Tavern, and 40-hour Storm, but then also eating shots from another angle.
The initial damage they got, though, is going to be enough for them to disengage off of, but that team doesn't want to. You see the orange arrows coming through. That's going to be Kadenox, 40-hour Storm, and Turtle Tavern. Actually, I believe another team coming in, so 40 on them, I believe, those purple arrows there. The orange one's going to be a little bit different of a team, and now they're in an awkward spot. If they need Surge at all, there's so many players that can get involved in that search for it that I'm glad they're continuing to run away and to disengage, because that was just too congested, and they don't want that to happen at all.
I would really like to stick with them as we transition kind of into that second zone reveal, because I want to know what their storm surge is at, because we haven't really seen them be throwing bullets out there. Yeah, there was the one time they kind of snuck a little bit away, but they haven't really been firing these shots out, and could potentially looking to chop Wiggly, Olaf, and Rin right above them, but Rin doing a good job dropping down and reconnecting. There is a connection over on the side. They think they have the edit out now. They're going to go for it, but I'm not sure if they realize that Rin dropped down and reconnected, so you could lose a really big opportunity to kind of get a chop, and instead they're just going to rotate inside safely. And I like this play because it seems like they're pretty confident with that surge. We'll get a warning here. I believe on the right-hand side, it might happen on this next reveal. It might be the next storm surge side. But the reality of the situation is, if they're not pressured by that, they're going to feel fine. They're going to drop back down in here. They're going to refarm, make sure they have some extra metal, just hit whatever you can. And hey, there was Grim picking up a knock in the feed, but he will end up getting knocked back on the other side. You can see Fletch picking up a knock there onto Mercute Squishy, and they're actually just going to pop in the hideaway and get a nice little rotato.
While very risky, they landed here so they know out of anyone that they're going to fight here, they're going to come out on top, because they know the angles, they know where and when they can't build. So it wasn't as risky as it would have been if Wiggly, Olaf, or Ren had come through. It would have been fine. They would have been fine in that fight, and I think the only thing that really could have put a wrench in their plan is if they use the hideout into the building that's on fire, maybe, but even then, it's still a far-fetched idea as we move through. We'll see Chicken Jelty and Andy getting aggressive. There's a lot of fire going on here, and that team immediately having to go to their hard build.
Yeah, swapping over, but oh my, Jelty just lost all of his shield near instantly, and that's going to signal players to keep firing away. You can see the fire is burning off, so hard mats being invested on both sides. This Baldy, Hav, and Defiable, as well as Chicken, Jelty, and Andy, just trying to get a little bit of space, but you can see right over the hill there, you got Epic Whale and Co. just trying to occupy as much as the central space. Again, they're currently sitting in second place, doing their best to be the back-to-back back-to-back FNCS champs as a trio, and that's not including their duo and solo wins that they have respective of each other. And honestly, that's just such an absurd storyline in and of itself. But I think the flip side of it is the ones who are currently holding them off are back-to-back second places there, with Kenji and Snacky adding in Fabs.
Again, every rank in the leaderboard that they climb is a victory in of itself. It's so much money on the line here. Arkham and Rex currently sitting in a bush. They've got to be really careful about that. Really, really careful, because one stray sniper bullet, if Kaiju's like, hey, I'm going to check that bush right there. If that hits them, it is so hard to come back from, because then everyone's going to know they're in that bush. The builds are going to come out, and you're just not going to be able to get out of it as they sit Epic Whale back to go and farm up, as the spray is going to come through, and I think that may have been onto Rex and Arkham.
Yeah, and you can see right as you talk about the builds end up going up. They're going to now spray away from the angle, but what they're going to do, they're going to drop down the side of this little grassy knoll here, use the line of sight available because you can't shoot through that building, and just disengage over to Arkham, knowing that they've already cleared out a lot of the space. They got the Storm Surge warning on the right-hand side. They know they're 372 above. We saw kind of the first below. I believe it was only at right around 111 or so. So that's the minimum amount of damage those teams need to do. Them being 356 above, they're more than fine. 3 trios need to be taken down. There's 79 players in the lobby. They are going to go back into what their usual strategy is, where they kind of check to see where that initial surge is at. They play a little bit for these ambush routes. They stay disciplined, and then they anchor onto one teammate. You notice how they will always leave somebody in a spot that they know is safe. They're never completely extending away and going too far out, but they also are putting a lot of faith in these bushes right now, which, yes, it's nice. It's not like the legendary bush attachment we had back in the day where you were slapping it on there, you can kind of crouch down, but you need to be careful, because if you path just a little bit too far to the outside and then aim down sights, the barrel of your gun will absolutely stick out of the bush. So there's a number of times you're just like, hey, what's going on in this situation? But if you're not very disciplined about how deep you are into it, you can absolutely give away your position. And what all of a sudden was an ambush turns into an awful situation, especially if somebody has fireflies. Because if they drop fireflies right on top of a bush, that damage is near instantaneous.
And you're not able to get away from it, because even if you build, the bush is still around you. So you have to be careful. But a quick stat for everyone, NA West tied its own record with 8 reboots last game. Wow.
Honestly, I kind of wish we could just get like reboots somewhere in the elimination feed for NA West in particular, just because it feels like it comes into play so much more, and they're so dedicated to working on the trio. But again, here's that 2-1 split we talk about, where now Arkham is looking for an angle, and they're aiming towards this team, and they want to try and find somebody who's looking to peek for Storm Surge right now. That's why they're doing this. This is the play where if they're able to open one of these walls and then throw a bullet towards it, they can either double spray, or knowing that somebody needs tags, you can take advantage of that. And if you're able to hit even a body shot, you win that trade every single time, because nobody is hitting at that range. It's 4 to 5 medium bullets with a damage fall off to equate even just the body shot of the heavy sniper, or the heavy bullet that comes from the sniper rifle, as Arkham is actually able to find a knock in the top left corner. That's 40R Storm going down, and exactly what I was just talking about. But you can see Chris, Falconer, and Reed, they have a contingency plan, even though they don't need it for Storm Surge, as they have all the shields, the campfire, and a nice little plethora. I mean, they're camped out on top of the campfire. Give them a tent, some marshmallows, make some s'mores, graham crackers, whatever you need, as Arkham continues to just rip these shots over. So no conversion into eliminations, but again, they only care about making it into the end game. They know that's where majority of their eliminations come from in majority of their games. And with only 3 games left at this point, again, there's 2 more after this, you can't drop points. Can Arkham hit it? He didn't even fire. That was so weird. He had such a great angle, but I think he's not. Again, another opportunity where he could have done it, but I don't think he wants to draw attention to himself. He's looking for potentially an easier shot as somebody who might be standing still, and he's marked it out.
We'll drop below the Storm Surge threshold for now.
Oh, Juice.
Ooh, and you're right. Juice is a solo in between a trio. This is what they need. Free points right here for them, because as a solo, it's just going to be that much harder. And I like that Arkham's not committing to this, and he's trying to keep the team on high ground away, and Juice makes the edit, knows they don't really have a play to make, and will just go down.
And that's a 7-point elimination. And why do I end up saying that? Because taking out that solo pushes them into the top 24. That's plus 5 points for everyone who is still up. And again, we talk about anchoring onto it. So the other two go and they take their fight. Arkham is still posted up in the bush. He's watching the one people who really have control over him. That's the team who's posted up on that old Guardian Spire because they're able to rain shots down. And they're actually getting aggressive onto it. This fight is huge. Do not take away from this, as Hurt and Isaac and Jacob Rooney are trying to get aggressive onto our second place trio. But instantly you can see what happens. Rex and Epic Whale rotate right back over to their anchor point. And now all of a sudden what looked like a situation where you're pushing down into a 3v1 is an even 3v3 with the best team in the region.
Ooh, oh no, it is gonna hit. I thought it was gonna miss.
Give me them
somehow
toes.
Rex is able to hit that, and that's more damage, and that is great. They are so far above Surge that honestly, if they got no more tags going in, I 100% think they would be fine. They wouldn't have to really worry about that. I think it's gonna put them about 800 damage above Surge, and ooh, look at that zone. They are happy about that one.
Yeah, and one thing too, when we talk about Surge and the threshold and all this, it's not a specific number that you need to be at. The Storm Surge is dynamic for every single different game you're in, and I'll touch on that right after I touch on, look at this zone. We pulled north, and there is only 3.5 trios, so we'll say 4 trios who are on top of it, but everyone else is going to have a tough rotation. We know that Epic Whale and Co., they're the ones who are over on that northwestern side. They're the blue triangles down there, but there's not a ton of changes in verticality over this, so it should be an interesting endgame that we're going to see here.
Our first place trio set up right where they land on top of that house, of all the angles in the world to look for players. And in all honesty, I kind of would have expected them to rotate just a little bit earlier so that they can get an angle on all of those players rotating in.
They just did. Literally, as you were talking about it, you saw those kind of blue triangles just eke in over on the side there. So you're going to notice how kind of in the bottom right-hand corner, everyone's going to be crowding in towards the southern part of the map. But again, the high ground control is in the northwest, and it's right kind of on that eastern part there. There's a little bit of a berm change, but Fazly, Kenshi, and Snacky, they're in a great position. And again, as long as they are up, every single one of those placement points that they're able to get denies the ability for somebody to close them off. So unless they go down now outside the top 17, this has been a moderately successful game. We'll check the Storm Surge on the right-hand side, 72 below, lets you know kind of the lowest team who is there, and they actually might be on the receiving end of that with no eliminations on their side of it. Nope, as I say that, it ends up ticking and updating there. They're 190 above, so they've done just enough. How that Storm Surge notification works is the first number is the minimum amount of damage. So the team who's done the least amount of damage there, we know needs 66 to kind of jump back above. What that, as a viewer, kind of tells you is that there's a bunch of teams who are right around kind of the same damage level. Then as it updates, that's the individual trio we're watching. So we saw them end up updating to the correct number there as Chris is able to pick up a knock, but 2 victory royales hasn't been enough as the more inconsistent games from Chicken, Jelty, and Andy with a... What?
Okay, I was going to say it for a second. If they don't go down after a 120 headshot there, that would have been interesting. 40R, though, will get taken down. Andy going back into zone just to try to dodge some of that potential fire there. But a solo rotating in. Why was he just giving that for free?
That was the part that was confusing me. Keep an eye on the top left corner. Epic Whale picking up a knock there and an Elam onto Baldy. We don't know if he got the point, but dude, look at the bottom right-hand corner. Zone dropped right on top of their head. Zone dropped literally. The team who is in the dead center of the zone is our 4-time FNCS champion. 3 of them trios and then a duo and a solo going them, but they have hard mats. They have complete control over this area. Rex, Arkham, and Epic Whale, and I mean, oh, that feels so good. They're well above Storm Surge. I mean, this is a free pass into the next round of placement points.
And look how much damage they're above. They don't need a peek. They can sit here. They can wait. They can look for peeks if they want for those elims that we've seen them get knocks onto. But right now, they're not looking to that east, which is where I'd expect them to, because that's where their elims are going to come through. If they're able to get anybody rotating in, launch padding in, this is the time to open up, to spray at them there if they wanted. But again, they don't really need to. And once again, look who's going to go invest a lot of mats to high ground. It's Kenshi, Snacky, and Fast. They've invested a lot already prior to this zone. Now seeing them on about 108. This is typically where we see, but we've seen West will challenge for this high ground. They've got to be very, very careful.
And I think the one real big benefit here is if you look on the northern side of the zone where the other natural high ground is, that's not in the new safe zone. So they have to come down from that area, which makes this investment just a little bit safer because you're not going to lose that space. You can see Zello still trying to go over there, but eventually they're going to have to be forced down, just as Falconer is forced down the backside of the zone. That's our third place trio, but Chris trying to create a little bit of space, and they got 4 elims now all of a sudden. So they're trying to put their name back in that conversation. They say, yeah, it might be 46 points to first place, but we still got 3 games, and we got Reet with a legendary shotgun, the pump right there in his back pocket. They're going to put some resources potentially back into Falconer, but honestly, I prioritize those under Reet 9 times out of 10 if you only have 1 medkit in this situation.
And that's why Reet yoinked that medkit. He said, no, it's mine. I'm going to take it. Sorry, Falconer.
Oh, they got,
they got another medkit. Right? Yeah, but still, I would agree. 100% is the right play. Yoink it away, be a little bit greedy, and say, I'm sorry, but I will pop off more. You get me to that end game, and I will pop off with the loot you gave me.
Yeah, I mean, if he's running the legendary pump, but on the flip side of that, you see Falconer has at least the epic variant in his hands as well. Keep an eye up on the high ground, because again, first place coming into this match had a 27-point lead over our reigning champions. This is match number 10 total, match number 4 on the day. We'll have 2 more games after this, but keep an eye on that top left feed. We're about to get into the descending place of points. Once we get in the top 17, the question is, does anybody at the top go down? We're currently on board with our third place trio, who about facing in the tarp, checking their 6 and finding some great shots. That's 2 headshots woven in there with the heavy AR. Note just the body shots, excuse me, since that is the heavy AR, kind of in that 3 to 4 tile distance, something we've talked about on some of the other broadcasts. But now keeping an eye, Reet is on the low ground with the legendary pump. If he's able to get some elims, it'll be huge, but uncontested on the high ground, Snacky, Kenshi, and Fabs, they have to feel good about this.
They've got a lot of builds, but once again, they're below Surge. It's going to activate now. They've got to be very careful about this. They're going to start getting hit. They have to drop down to try to find something. Fabs will find symmetrical damage is going to come through. That should be enough. They're going to get one more tag on the way out. It will update here in a moment. No, still 8 below. They're getting hit. They've got to find more. 1 above. It'll turn off for now, but still, this is not good.
Yeah, 1 above isn't enough. It's gonna end up. Oh no. They got the elim. They found some more. Finally, was able to tick on over. But luckily, players on the backside of the zone. Once you do get into that moving 7-zone surge, players drop very quickly. You don't have a decision. Now you can see front side of the zone. You got Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale. This is where they end up piling on the eliminations if they're hip to hip. Arkham, you can see changing and trying to cut off Cloxic and Hyper and getting slightly ahead of them. They're already up to 3 eliminations, and we have 12 trios remaining. 28 players left. So surge is off. We're heading into the 8th zone, so a little bit sparse than some of the other games, but we'll see how many of these trios are able to really hold hip to hip. As we do hear the cricketing of the Fireflies go off. You need to be careful if you're building on wood or low HP, as that 12 damage per second will hurt. And right now you can see Arkham doing his best to create some space, try and guide his trio and put them in the right spot, because realistically, they need to start looking for fights. They need to start looking for elims. They're the ones who are playing catch-up, Clay.
And they're looking a little bit towards high ground. Squishy going to go down there. Kenshi, Snacky, and company up on top have to be careful. Boxes, and all of their sudden they're in their box. Sorry, rather. Arkham, Epic, Whale, Rex in a bad situation. Rex is going to go down. Arkham trying to get all the eliminations they can, all the extra loot they will. Rex still going to be down. Snacky and Fabs are right there on top of them. They're taking down Arkham, Epic, Whale, and Rex. First place wants to make sure they stay that way, and they will for now. What a beautiful play to drop back into zone, realize who it is, and say, no, I'm sorry, you've got to try in the next 2 games.
That was definitive. They went and they knew. They didn't have a ton of eliminations before, but now up to 7 and with high ground control. But it doesn't matter. It does not matter, because they took out their most direct competition, unless Falconer, Reet, and Chris on the low ground are able to secure this victory royale and turn it into a bunch of eliminations. But even then, they're already in the top 5. They're popping a med kit. They already have 14 points worth of eliminations coming through, and you can see Reet just desperately trying to trade out. They are making a push for it. They're on 9 elims by themselves. Legendary pump, chug splash cannon. They have a heal off win condition here, Clay. Things could get interesting in the top 3, but right now, Snacky, Kenshi, and Fabs feel real good about this one.
And look at X. He's underground in the basement trying to pop a medkit there. Trix is going to get taken down there by Fabsy. X will now get taken down as well. Falcon and Chris and Reet now have the priority. They do have the double chug cannon. Shot's going to come through. That's good for Reet. That gets the initial damage. Isn't going to find any more than that, though. Has the chug cannon. Will be fine. That player has to go down right there for Reet. If they want to get back into it, they will. Snacky going to fall. What can Fabs and what can Kenshi do on the high ground? Favs is already taken down now, only up to Kenshi. This looks like the victory royale they needed from the low ground. Double chug cannon for them. Chris doesn't actually have much to work with, too. Going down there, almost a play by Kenshi, but he will fall. Reet and company will pick up the victory royale.
I was just going to say, you have to be careful when you go to that double kind of chug splash option there at the end, because if both people have the chug splash down and somebody drops immediately, as we saw, he tried to make the play. He hit the huge pump, knocked the other, but luckily the cleanup came through, and with a second place finish there, our first place team feels real good going to the last part, but our third place team might have been able to leapfrog up there, racking off a ton of eliminations, and it's going to be real interesting to see now that the stage is set.
Got a couple more games to go, and the top three are still just as close as ever, but we need Zeke, we need Kelly, and we need Panda to break it all down.
Thank you guys so much. I mean, how is this happening? How is it that we are all playing a separate NA West finals, and then the top three are just playing their own game somewhere over here in this quadrant? What is going on, Kelly?
I mean, we literally just saw the team highlight for Kenshi, Snacky, and Fabs, who were in first place before that last game, and we saw that bottom stat was how many of their own eliminations were on Arkham Rex and Epic Whale. Well, they can add a few more to that because we just saw them get taken down. And if you're going to take anyone down, it has to be your biggest competition right now. So you speak about momentum and about the mentality of going into this game. They have to be on Cloud 9.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They have to be excited at that performance. Despite not getting the victory royale, they still have to feel confident, making their way to second place, getting those placement points, getting eliminations, and some of those eliminations being Rex and company. So, I mean, that's a huge motivational point for them. That's a momentum shift that they really needed going into these next few games.
I mean, speaking of momentum shifts, Falconer, Reet, and Chris, they had no VRs. Now walking into with a VR. You said it, Panda.
Oh my gosh, it's just taking me back to the intro when we put Panda on the spot. His prediction could have come true.
Taking a quick look now at Turtle Tavern 40R and Caden Knox in Corny Complex. But of course, we have to look at Reet, because if anyone is going to just steamroll the competition on the low ground, it's Reet right here. Of course, having that legendary pump shotgun, grabbing some great eliminations.
Some great eliminations indeed. And look at 351 points. That is a 40-point lead above Arkham Rex and Epic Whale. We are seeing it. We are seeing the Kings get dethroned here in the final moments. But could it all change? Could it shift? I don't know. The consistency we've seen from Fav's team has just been unreal.
And Falconer, Reet, and Chris with a 13 elimination victory royale, still not able to take second place. But I will say this. Last season, we never saw Arkham and Rex and Epic Whale grab a VR in the finals for all 12 games until the last 2 games where they did a back-to-back VR finish. So, this is where they shine, okay? This is where they pull out all the stops. But they need to look towards Fabs, Kenshi, and Snacky, because this is no longer about getting a few more eliminations than them. This is about taking them out early and making sure that they don't get any points.
You know, we've been talking a lot about these top 3 teams, but I think it's time for us to break down what's going on here with some of these other teams, like Kaboo's team. They're doing exceptionally well, finding themselves in 5th place here, and this is how. They're doing an exceptional job at getting those tags early on for Storm Surge, clearly getting a nice knock there, and playing this out of Retail Row. They've done pretty good so far.
Yeah, and what incredible shots there from them. Kaboo also grabbing a few more eliminations, playing from the low ground so well, making sure that they're paying attention to everyone else. And of course, we have to look at the team that grabbed 2 victory royales. That's going to be Andy, Jelty, and Chicken there.
Yeah, this is a team that has been just impressive from start till now. Walking away with the first victory royale of the FNCS finals, and then leading to this point. Doing exceptionally well so far. They just need to be a little bit more consistent, and they can easily continue to climb this leaderboard.
Yeah, that is their issue. They had a 23rd and a 21st place game. They just got 14th place in that last game. And from what we're seeing from our top 3 teams, you can't place below 10th. You have to get into the top 10. You have to make it into the end game, or else there's just not even a shot of making it into the top 3.
These numbers are absolutely terrifying. Almost 100 points between 3rd and 4th place. I I don't know. So yeah, we still haven't figured out what a reverse shooping is. Maybe there is no reverse shoop. Maybe there's just the shoop, and I sit outside of this and play my own game that's not Fortnite. It's something else in the future, 100 years from now, that you've never even heard of. Absolutely insane. But Fortnite fan, we got 10 seconds left here before we jump aboard the battle bus. Don't forget, we only have 2 games left to go. At the top 3 right now, they're all going head to head. Follow along with the casters as they set up the storyline for you. Everyone else right now is playing for 4th. But it's time. You heard the beep beep. We're going back with Sundown and Clay for game number 11 of the FNCS.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Panda, and Kelly. And 10 matches down. 6 regions have finished. We're here in the final hour, the closing moments. And with only 2 matches left, we got this one and we got one more. The pressure is on for Snacky, Kenshi, and Favs to close it out. 32-point lead over 2nd place, which was Falconer, Reet, and Chris, who stormed up the leaderboard with a 56-point performance in the previous match, and then sitting there in 3rd place, 40 points back with 2 matches to go. 100 Thieves, Arkham, and Rex with Energy's Epic Whale, but Clay, last FNCS, coming in the final 2 games. What did that trio do? They racked off back-to-back victory royales to close it out. The question is, can they come up with similar heroics here and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat?
If anyone can do it, it's the 3-time champions there. And again, want to point out that in of itself will forever be one of the greatest runs by any trio ever. 3 back-to-back-to-back FNCS champions.
It ain't over. Don't throw that 3 number out there like it's definitive.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like we got time. We got 2 games.
Yes.
We
no
don't
matter
count
what
them
happens, though, at the end of it, whoever ends out on top, the run in of itself that they've had from the previous season will forever be one of the best. If it becomes the 4th time, it's cemented as the best run of any trio.
Okay, I can get on board with that. I just want to say, still got faith in them. It can pop off. But with that being said, too, we have seen less weird situations. Like right now, again, we're kind of looking at setting the stage and what's going on. We're keeping an eye on who was the game number 10 winner, because they've really put themselves kind of back into that race. If we go similar to the horse racing analogy there, where we kind of had 1st and 2nd who were right there neck and neck. Well, Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky, they're a couple lengths ahead at this point, and they're now all of a sudden just looking a little bit behind and being like, hey, how hard do we really have to run to close this game out and to finish it off here? And that's a legendary bolt sniper rifle going over, which doesn't necessarily hurt in terms of the rarity. You get a little bit of benefit out of it, but at the end of the day, a body shot or a headshot, it's about the same.
Still great to pick up one of those snipers and have it in your trio, because those long-range tags we've seen are so detrimental to getting Storm Surge tags. As Falconer, Chris, and Reed, for the first time, I feel like, in a long time, again, this finals, they've had it uncontested. Every qualifier we watched, there was someone here on the other side. And this has kind of led to their success. When you can get an uncontested POI, look at what it does for you. Currently, I think the top 4 are uncontested.
Yeah, and I think a bit nutty, too, for that trio is just you don't know them for not going down at least in one of those early and mid-game fights at some point during the tournament. Again, I talked about it kind of coming into the show, how their worst placements have been in match number 2 and match number 5 yesterday with a 13th and a 12th. Well, that's still the case. Like, they've racked off 7th, 7th, 5th, and then the first place that we just saw there. So far today, like, if you just took their today's strats, their average is ridiculous. They're averaging a top 5 finish so far.
That is ridiculous indeed. Takada in a fight with Wavy Jacob and company. They're going to take down Wavy Jacob. Takada, I've seen in the elimination feed multiple different times this match, and I want to know exactly how many they have on the other side of the wall. Regulator trying to get in there onto Day and Etso, but Takada going to put some damage back down as well. Regulator doesn't have the best loot to work with, does put a lot of damage onto Day, but look at how much they just took back. J Roses and Regulator do not have the HP because of that chug cannon. All of the damage they just dealt is gone.
Yeah, and that's so demoralizing too. If you're in that 2v3 situation, you think, okay, I got a good shot onto him, but they flip it right back. J Rose just hops in the box with Regulator. But now you know that that duo is grouped up and they've given away any of the positional advantage they have. But as I say that, J Rose is great cone into the SMG swap, but doesn't have a shotgun, so not really able to punish it with that key shot. Regulator gets taken down, trying to force his way through with the pickaxe and jump swing, but not going to be able to connect. Only has 3 builds, 2 builds, and they're up very high and out of builds, trying to spam it out, and they're going to get taken down. And some really good early game aggression here from Etso, Tokata, and Day to close out that fight.
I don't know exactly how many eliminations they're currently sitting on, because that was great aggressiveness. 6 eliminations. They've eliminated 2 trios just by themselves, and that's a way to get back into it. I mean, if you're not having the best of games, the best of second days either, hey, coming out this game, game number 5, let's just start going.
Yeah, game number 5 here of day 2, or game number 11 of 12 overall. You got this one, and then one more after us. We see the zone on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you, observers. We pulled far to the east, so Takata and Co. getting the 2 wipes is really going to benefit them, because otherwise this rotation might not have even have been manageable. This is about as far east as you can get on one of those first zone pulls. But it's another thing that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show, but because the top 3 are all 300 plus points, right, going into with still 2 games left, that means such a large percentage of the available points have been allocated into that top 3. I think they're combined closing in on nearly 1,000 points between the 3 of them, which is bonkers, right? But because of that, that means if you are able to sneak away some cheeky elims, some good placement points here in the final games, all of a sudden you could bump yourself up just one more of those pay boosts, right? Just one more of the thresholds if you're able to get that key game. That's kind of when we talk about that denouement. It's the stuff that, like, once we actually know who the winners are, like, yeah, we know what the main storylines, but then what's really happening underneath and who's able to get kind of those key plays that earn them just a little bit extra notoriety. You get those moments there. And the real question, though, as we stick back into it, is can these guys catch up? Can Rex, Arkham, and Epic Whale make up the gap? Because right now they're not even in second, right? They are 40 points behind. That is a 5 elimination victory royale. However, we know when they win games hard.
I think, what, a 15 elimination victory royale yesterday? That in of itself is a ridiculous, that's 60 points right there. That is a 60-point swing. And yes, they may be behind by that much, but if they can put that together and back-to-back, it's theirs. There's just no way to really top it.
Yeah, it was a 14 elimination victory royale, so just one less going through from there. But then they had earlier, which we saw was the second place 15 elim that they had in game number 8 of today, which ended up going off, and just a really good performance. You can see them again kind of going on that little car rotation. Some good shots from Rex, hitting body shots into headshot, but they also need to be careful, because once you commit down into this island area and you're on kind of the lower part of the berm, if anybody is chilling up by the top of a waterfall, this rotation actually becomes impossible. Like, you can't go below them, you can't really go above them, but because they went so early and they've cleared out this path, that once you kind of get over this crest, the rest of the access to the map becomes that much easier, because at any point in time, you can just kind of look over to your south and know if somebody is coming over the hills, because those sight lines are very long, and you don't typically get people hanging out on lazy unless they're really apparent about it, right? Like, we've seen fights that just last over there forever, but if that's not the case, people generally loot lazy and then just get out.
So for them, a great rotation. They'll even grab some parasites. I'm not sure exactly if they ended up using them there, but that's going to be Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex that are getting those Storm Surge tags onto Andy, Jelty, and Chicken as they make their rotation as well. Even popping a tire there. You see the continued movement. They're going parallel right now, using those cars just to try to keep up and get into that center zone. We'll know in 30 seconds where it ends up going. We've had some interesting ones today. Ones we thought were going to pull one way and ended up pulling completely opposite. And look at, they're running a cutoff route. If they wanted to fight, they could take down Jelty, Chicken, and Andy.
I also just think the cars look so hilarious when you have chonkers on, but then one of the tires shot out, so you just got these 3 massive tires and the other one's just scraping on rims over there. But you can see both the teams trying to occupy one of these spaces where then you can pretty efficiently reform. They're going to try and continue to move towards one of these natural high grounds. They want to head kind of a little bit more to the north. They are circling around retail, but yeah, the reality of the situation, if they can get up and gain control of this old Guardian spot, it's one of the best spots on the map. But Jelty and Co are thinking the exact same thing, and we're going to have a head-to-head here. This could very well determine whether or not we will see a 4X. They're going to go right into this fight. And hello, somebody just went screaming off into Narnia. Jalty gets pushed down, and Rex able to get the pressure onto him. You can see Arkham getting around the side, and look how they just cut off and encircle him. They want this 3v3 Clay. They're getting aggro on this.
Ooh, and Rex is going to find the shots, going to find the angles. They're going to find the down as well. Rex is going to get all of the builds in their favor. They're all starting to fall down. They're starting to crumble, and this is the game they need. These are the Elims. This is the Arkham, Epic Well, and Rex that are hungry for that 4th title back to back to back to back. They need to find that last player for that last confirmation. Going to go ahead and box off that launch pad. Not going to be able to find the other one there. Is just right on the other side. They find a boom. That's it. 3 eliminations, more points, and beautifully executed too, because no one's going to be able to come in on third party.
Yeah, you can't come anywhere near this part of the map. That's what we were talking about, how the rotation. So now they've gained the entire control of the Guardian Spire. They also have the hill that's over to the east of it. So the 2 natural high grounds that are in this area, they control both. And on top of it, because they just eliminated a fresh trio who's rotating around, they have all of those extra maps. So they can build up as high and as wide and as many of the hard materials as they want. And you can see them marking out the spots to just try and control as much of the space. The only thing that they need to be a little bit cognizant of is the fact that they can't get too split. They need to go over and make sure they get control of that area. If they're going to commit to it, they need to do it now by recycling the launch pad that's already over there, or they need to get hip to hip and decide that they're just going to hold this Guardian Spire. Honestly, I would rather see them go back to kind of that 2-1 split, knowing that if the player over on that eastern kind of high rise does get pushed, that the 2 in the Guardian Spire are going to be able to get over there relatively quickly. However, it seems like they're going to opt for the safer route and just hold on to this guarding area, knowing that they have the overlook and nobody else is going to take that high ground to the east of them, at least without a bunch of damage. So you can see right-hand side, they were 62 as the line, so a bunch of teams are right towards the bottom, but these guys don't need to worry about that.
The first time I feel like in a while, they are well above Surge. And look, Sundown, they are. Arkham splitting. He's going to that mountain. And I agree. I like this play. You have to have a different angle. And if zone pulls here and they hold both of them, ooh, that a little bit risky, but I wouldn't put it past them to hold it as well. I don't like that they've left a lot of the materials down here. I want to see them start to move some of them up so no one can kind of just come through and scavenge that little bit there. I think that's what Rex is going to do. But look at Falconer, Chris, and Reed. They have got an interesting base using a lot of hard mats early, betting that it'll pull to them.
But they got an elimination. That's why they just wiped a trio in that area. You can see their damage above, and you see all the excess loot going down. And now what they're doing is they're scanning over, and they're like, all right, how much extra brick do we have? How far can we build out? And this is really solid for them because, again, we kind of talk about, we do have the Storm Surge running on the right-hand side, but with only 2 more players needing to go down and us already hitting that first placement threshold, there's not a ton of onus for the key teams to need to be peaking out unless they're trying to take advantage of somebody they might feel ends up being cracked. But right now, Falconery and Chris, they feel good. They got a really key mid-game refresh. Epic Whale, Arkham, and Co., they feel good. They got the fantastic, like, look at that shot, observers. You guys outdoing yourself right there, showing the second and third place team stacked on top of each other with their positional control. And then on the flip side of that, our first place trio, Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky, they're ecstatic because they got to the top 24 and didn't have to do anything. Storm Surge is negligible this game. And again, all they care about is just staying on their feet because every single one of those placement points that they get means somebody isn't closing the gap on them. And they're so close to that Axe of Champions, and however Zeke ended up forging it this time.
Zone with a very predictable pull there. And, ooh, okay, wait. I like that they're using this bow because then they can disrupt that high ground by shooting some missiles at it, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Able to throw 2 of them that way, maybe even a third. Yes, going to be able to squeeze a third in there. And great rotation, and in honesty, great usage of what's around them, though. Arkham, though, going to be right behind all of a sudden. This is awkward. This is uncomfortable. Chris, Falcon, and Reed, though, will be able to hold off for now. Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex decide immediately to disengage, and that was so close.
Show me the map, show me the map, show me the map, because they just left the biggest part. They had the entire southern side high ground control, but they padded immediately, and they tried to take advantage of the trio. I don't know if they knew who that was, but if they were able to take them out there, that could have been monstrous, but they know not to engage it. And yes, that is why they wanted the center zone. And because of where this is in the center, there is only that one natural high ground, and they were trying to potentially take out the other team. But now that they recognize that there's another team who's more central and slightly higher above them, they can say, okay, we made our play there. We didn't get the ability to kind of ambush and take advantage of the opponent. We're going to rebox up and then reevaluate.
They're looking for it. You could tell they want it. Look at Arkham just sitting there. He's waiting for any... If they headshot, if they get down, they're going. 100%. They are going to full commit to going for that because they've got the loot to do it. You saw how many launch pads they had. They didn't even have to use one of the ones. They just recycled one that was up there. If Arkham hits a snipe here...
He wants to punish. He's looking for one of those gargoyles, the gatekeepers, the one who pokes his head just a little bit too much over the top. We've seen him connect with it in the past games, but I think the difference here is if they hit, they're going. They know they need eliminations. They know they need positional control, but additionally, they can't overextend, right? They can't get nervous and know that they're going to be pressured out. Again, this is the farthest they've ever been away from first place in terms of point-wise, which is nuts to think about because, again, all three of these trios are 300-plus points. Let me say that again. All three of our top three trios have already scored 300-plus points. On some other days, that's enough to win the FNCS in some of your regions, right? And they put it down. But these guys have been so freaking good over the course of these 10 games that with Storm Surge now turning off, I mean, it's such a tough situation, and the tiniest of things could potentially tip it over. And we're really hanging on with Arkham in the sniper because that's going to be the fulcrum. He's looking for this shot. They're trying to bait it, knowing that the team he's looking at, that's the high ground control. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, they're kind of the darker yellows that are right just slightly off center there. But they're the only team who has priority positioning. But don't forget that the team who's boxed up right next to him, Clay, is our top three. That's Reeton, and Zone pulled right on top of that.
Honestly,
Kenshi got a knock.
Kenshi got a knock in the feed. They are going up against Wheels, Tautai, and Caleb. Have to be careful, though. If they get taken down too low, they could get taken out of the... Hey, man, as I say that, they just completely wiped that team.
And it wasn't even close, just completely waxed. Fabsy taking a decent amount of damage, but they got the Siphon over, and each one of them taking two. But they need to be careful because now High Ground, Zello, and Rexy identified the fact that they're there, and they have the positional control. The one thing, though, that Fabsy, Kenshi are able to do is they're able to create some additional space. And now they know that, hey, even though we saw that the other top three trios had also picked up a trio wipe, they just evened out the points, right? So kind of looking at what does the delta look as we come into the game, because we threw those numbers out there, how they had 32-point lead and then a 40-point lead over second and third. Well, it looked really good with getting kind of those first 6 points over, but all of a sudden now they also get 6 points and they also get the +5 from the placement points. And the longer they just stay up on their feet, the more monumental the task gets to overtake them in game number 12.
What can the other players in the lobby find? That's really what they're going to have to start to look for. Can they find elims when Faz, Kenshi, and Snacky can't? Can they find the high ground to win the game early? But even if you have the high ground, we've seen that it doesn't necessarily net you the eliminations you want. And look, who is facing off against each other? It's Falcon, Chris, and Reed. Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex right there. If they get a little bit too greedy, second place could go down, third place could go down. Look at that. They're waiting for that edit. One overcommit from Falcon and Chris or Reed is them going to go down, and that is a big swing. Taking down second place, able to then secure it if you go on late enough in the game, would be so monumental. It would cut into the lead as well.
And as we just kind of talked about the quick stat on the left-hand side, this is the furthest from first place that Rex and Co. have been going into the 5th game. So going into the last 2 games, I know we talked about it last season, how they had kind of that epic comeback and they're able to win the last 2 games. Well, their final win put them definitively in first place. They overtook it there in match number 11, but here now, they not only need a solid performance here, but they need a performance in the next game too. It's not going to be good enough to just take it down, and frankly, they have to be careful. You cannot be wall-to-wall with Reed, Chris, and Falconer and be comfortable here. Granted, they're both in the safe zone. Where this pulls, and it pulls due north. This is a tough rotation. You launch pad here, right? 100% of the time.
You have to use a pad. If any trio is got a clean enough line, it's them, but it's still is still going to be a messy rotate there on foot. And I like that they're going to wait for this team up above to rotate to maybe go for a recycle, because you know the team on high ground is probably going to have to pad. They've got a car though, so I thought Epic Well, Arkham, and Rex can see Reed, Chris, and Falconer make this rotation that much harder.
Sitting directly on top of them, 2 tiles away. Hard Mat's invested in about every 10 seconds. They turn around and kind of double check that wall. That is terrifying. You don't want to end up bogged down in that fight. And Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale, they know this. One thing about this trio in particular is they almost never commit to these mid-game fights, or as they know they can 100% win it, because they are so good in these endgame situations. Oh no, Reed, Chris, unable to execute on the short pad there and end up losing a bunch of extra HP and potentially end up getting split up. But all 3 of our top 3 took to the skies. Launchpad taken out. Reed, first one to kind of box up. He's able to catch Chris right on top of his head. They're going to invest a decent amount of hard mats and try and build up and then get some shots out there. Reed looking for some elims, but trying to keep an eye on where the rest of the lobby is. This Kadenox Turtle Tavern and 4DR Storm coming in late and trying to retake the high ground, not quite able to get it. Still keeping on board here with what was our match 10 winners with the 15 eliminations to put them name back in the hat. But the question that matters and the only answer, where is Favzi, Kenshi, and Snacky? Can they hold on? Will our first place trio be able to cement a lead going into the final match? And can Rex, Epic Whale, Arkham, or Falconer, Reed, and Chris overtake them? Because right now, the answer so far has seemed like no, as we've gotten into the second round of placement threshold. That's now additional 3 points that go over to everyone, and every single trio that stays up on their feet now will get an additional point when one other one falls. I mean, Favzi, Kenshi, and Snacky are closing the gap in terms of the amount of available points their opponents are able to kind of steal away from them. They just want to stay on their feet.
They're looking to go for a spray out here, trying to chop high ground down. They may be able to do it. And if that happens, they could take high ground. This is where they'll operate the best. Arkham, Epic Well, and high ground are scary. They are some of the worst to fear on high ground. They can find eliminations when it's...
Oh, sorry, so keeping an eye on the top part of the screen, we saw Favzi was actually able to chop out the high ground and take it away from a second, but a player dropped down and was able to connect it. Now you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, Epic Whale taking to the sky with Arkham, and there side by side we have first place is in the top of the screen, second place is the bottom left hand corner. That's Reed, Chris, and Falconer trying to make the run, but again Reed bonking his head. Launch pads not being an addition for them, instead a detriment so far, but only 1 point has gone over as taking to the sky, going for height, bottom right hand corner. Arkham tries to tap it, but he gets into the box, finds a shot, able to take it down. That's a huge play. Third place takes to the sky. Legendary pump in Arkham's hands. Wave going down, and that could be it, but he drops down and loses a bunch of that position. That could be rough. Can they get it back together, and can they get control? As you can see, oh yeah, they have all the control. And the question is, Clay, is this it? Is this the inevitable run that they make?
This is where they did it yesterday. Can they do it again today? They've got to hope that first place is fighting and going down. Arkham looking for any elimination that they can, any tags. 40R Storm is going to fall. Reek getting eliminations in the feed. They have a lot of builds, but they need Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky to go down. You see them top of your screen there. Falconer going to go down. Chris, very weak. Kenshi, Snacky, and Favs still here, still operating. They've got a good amount of HP. Reek going off, popping off as well. Another elimination to keep him in the game. Going to find number 4. Chris trying to operate there as well. Snacky will take down Kytrex. Epic Well going to take down Chicken. A lot of players still need to fall before it's worth it for Arkham, Epic Well, and Rex.
Snacky just took down Falconer. He was the one who got the confirmation over. Chris also getting knocked, which means Reed is the one trying to run it out as a solo. Snacky is down. It's just Kenshi and Favzi. So all of a sudden the gap could be there. However, we talk about them securing it. They've already got a top 10. They go down in 10th place with still 7 eliminations. But up on the high ground, look who it is. 100 Thieves Rex, Arkham, and Epic Whale just raining down shots. The 4-time champions trying to make it 4 in a row, and it feels like every single time when we get into the penultimate games, they step it up to the ultimate level. However, also on the ultimate level is Reed as he just waxes Takada, but not able to get the finish there. A top 5 placement and a great solo run from our player who was in cell, looking to overtake and charge. They're up to 8 elims. They're on the high ground. They got floppers. This has to be a dub, right?
It has to be, and they're trying to find. They need as many as they can. They cannot just settle for the win. They need to find elims now. It's a 3v3. They know players are going to go back into the zone for the heal off. They have the heal off secured. Hurdy is the only one that can play for it. Rex is going to drop down. Rex on the low ground with the shotgun is scary. It is terrifying. The team has to know that they are going to win. Rex is going to take down Jake. Someone going for the high ground. It doesn't matter. Arkham says get back to the lobby. They pick up the victory royale. 11 eliminations as well.
11 eliminations in the victory royale. Rack it off. That's 52 points. And we talked about the point delta being there. We talked about the horse race going through, and first place dropped out. They slowed down a little bit. Third place, they go all the way up. Zeke, you asked what the Shupening was? Well, this is the Shupening Supreme. It's not the Shupening 2 Electric Boogaloo. We got something completely new. The top three, jumble it all up, throw it in the air, because we have one match left. One more FNCS champion to be crowned here.
Alrighty, so I walked away for a bit there. I'll admit that. I think we might have gotten kicked from Party Royale for being idle for too long. I saw that win by Epic Whale. It was great. Arkham with the final kill there. Great stuff. Alright, so maybe Party Royale is over here. There's a lot of people.
can't like Falconer third place right now. Average placement is 6.18. Eliminations is 64. Next up, second place, Arkham, Rex, Epic, Whale. 71 eliminations, but an average placement of 6.73. Favs, Kenshi, Snacky, 7.64, but they have 83 eliminations, right? So it's just two separate teams trying to operate in different ways. Kelly, this is gonna hit a breaking point in this game.
Well, we saw the breaking point in the last game. Kenshi, Snacky,
Right.
and Favs had a threshold. They got Storm Surge, and which was crazy to me because they already had 4 eliminations. So why? I don't know if everyone was just doing a bunch of damage in that game, but that was the crack that they needed. That was their armor slowly starting to fall off there. They're going to have to do something different with Cordy Complex, which is surrounded by teams. So I'm honestly a little perplexed why they were below Storm Surge. That is the issue, and they're going to have to make sure that they're grabbing good shots on
got
everyone
people
around
here
them
doing that
if they
now.
don't want to run into a similar
Wide
situation that they
crashers.
just had.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna
it's
go
going to be
ahead and,
tough either
unplug the
way.
mic and
Look,
turn that off real quick so I
it's
can, go
so
back to
crazy
another
to
thing.
think about how close this is and how much still is yet to unfold in this final game. But look, I'm excited to watch this. This could potentially be their chance. Fav's team has placed second historically, time and time again. This could be the chance that they walk away with that glorious pickaxe made by Zeke. But we will find
Wait.
out in just a few moments.
Wait, real quick. So, yeah, Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky, they got second place in Season 6 and Season 5, but in Season 5, they were with Chris, who is in the team that's in second place right now. So this just feels serendipitous. This is the best game we could have had.
We'll see. One last time, NA West, Sundown Plate. Take it away.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jonesies, Bonesies, and everyone in between. Thank you for sticking with us through what has been, honestly, in my opinion, some of the hypest Fortnite we have had in such a long time. Every region coming down to so many close battles. And after 6 champion trios have been crowned, after 11 matches here in the West, that horse race, we're in the final turn, we're in the last sprint. Everyone is doing everything they can to close that final gap, and here's what it looks like, Clay. Extra Snacky, 33 Kenshi, and Favsy sitting at 383. They're 20 points clear of 100 Thieves Arkham, Rex and Energy's Epic Whale at 363, and then third just on that outside, looking to storm and steal it away on the back of Reet's absurd individual solo performances. Extra Reet, 100 Thieves Falconer, and 33rd Chris. And then let's be frank, everyone else is playing for some kind of change in the leaderboard because the gap between third and fourth is 99 points.
Ooh, that is such a big gap. It seems like we know our auto qualification teams for next season. It seems like we know the top 3 going through.
Yes, we do. Definitively, we can check that. So we can check that story mark off. We know who's going because the fact that any single one of these trios, and like Favs and Co, are almost assuredly, at least based on the averages, they're gonna crack 400 points. That's bonkers.
That is absolutely ridiculous, and Arkham, Epic, Whale, and Rex are going to need to put up a performance of a lifetime if they want to do the impossible. I mean, it seems like now for any region, no one's ever gone 3 times, no one's ever gone 4 times, and if anybody's going to do it, they have the opportunity right now to do so. But it's going to take a lot.
They said you saw the first comeback, Clay, last season. We were able to take it away in match number 11, but have you heard of second comeback? Where not only did they need the match number 11 victory route, but realistically, they need the numbers from either a victory route or one of those top 2 performances, because that's where we've seen them rack off the eliminations, because they know, smell the blood in the water. The second there's a little bit of chum that's been dipped in there, and they know they kind of have that zone control. We saw it last game when they're able to get right on top of a trio. They'll poke, they'll prod, they'll test their opponents and see like, hey, can you deal with this pressure? And if the answer is no, then they just collapse and envelop it. And that's what makes them so good. But right now, they're going to try and clear out Believer Beach and then hop right on their rotational path because zone dropped pretty much right on top of them. So they're going to go have to look for tags.
Something that they've done really well this season is those rotations. We've hyped it up, and you saw it last game, how well it truly was. Jelty going to be in an engagement here against Cube, and Avail does take a little bit of damage, but not much. Only an 11 damage tag, so must have been from a pistol or something. I'm not even sure if there's 11 damages in the game, so takes a little bit of shield damage there. Unfortunate, is now going to start to drop on through. They're trying to box up, trying to make sure they've got the engagement in their hands, but Jelty gets a little greedy, doesn't control all of the pieces, and now going to take a big shot and has to back off from this fight.
Yeah, and we'll be keeping our eyes peeled in that top left-hand corner pretty much the entire time to see if any of the relevant names go down, but otherwise we're just going to be catching some of the early game fights, as you can expect some of them to be fast and loose, as a lot of players just trying to get through the last one, get their opportunities, knowing that, hey, we need a bunch of eliminations and some placement points if we want to make a change here. Sometimes it's a reason to just kind of go for broke, right? There's nothing else. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, you're already at the kind of placement threshold you're already at that pay level, but if you can get that extra little bump, you can move up the placement board. As we've talked about, there's so many points in the top three that the difference of 5 points, 7 points, 6 points, if you're able to just wipe a squad and kind of get that one additional placement, could mean a couple $100 to $1,000 for your team.
And a great fight from Jelty, Chicken, and Andy just to make sure they get those points and as many of them as they can, I believe, coming into this game at 7th place. And again, everyone below 3rd is fighting for a good amount of points to move up and down. That's where the fluctuation will be outside of 3rd.
Yeah, and what do you care about as a viewer? This is the final game. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in and watching wherever you are watching, whether it is in Party Royale, YouTube, Twitch, any of the viewing parties on the Made broadcast. Just thank you for supporting competitive Fortnite in general. Make sure you check out the item shop in-game. Check out the Major Glory, as well as that just sick beat by More Kismet. They absolutely destroyed it on Dreamcatcher. I don't think I have ever gone into a lobby track so fast. It just like hits all of those vibes. But right now, what's hitting the vibes is hopefully this Cosmic Chest, as you can see them working through, making sure they hit those critical points. And regardless, the ammunition from this is always incredibly valuable, but you're hoping for one of those shotgun rolls and to see some purple and to see some of that orange going through. Oh, but a heavy bullet going through, and immediately you never want to risk that up. And unfortunately, one of what is probably the least preferred rolls from some of our competitive players is they get the heavy ARs and just some extra big pots, and immediately gonna hop into that Chonkers out IO car and then get away from there. But I'm not gonna lie, Clay, I did a little bit of an IRL dodge there when that kind of heavy bullet snap came through. I was like, whoa.
Wait a minute. That was a close one for sure. They are going to find a shotgun vending machine, and that's probably the best vending machine in the game, because for 50 gold, you can get a rare pump, and you saw immediately every single one of them bought it. Everyone.
Yeah, it's such a solid upgrade, and with the default amount of gold that you end up getting in, you're able to consistently end up engaging with it. But now, hopping over, we talk about them closing fights, them needing to find elims, them smelling blood in the water. Well, they smell that blood, and on the other side of it is Defiable, Hob, and Baldy trying to play defensively, but they just, oh my, the pressure they're able to put out. Unless Defiable, Baldy, and Hob are able to pick a direction and go. This pincer maneuver from them is so good. You talk about piece control. Well, you've been boxed up. It's just the box is a 2x2, and they're investing a ton into it, knowing that if they're able to close this gap, it's massive. But again, because this is the last game, those placement points are going to tick over a lot quicker. 2 more trios go down, and 5 points is off the board. And don't forget, Babs, Kenshi, Snacky, they are in hold on mode. As long as they're getting placement points, as long as they're on their feet, they don't care. They have a 20-point lead on the 4X champions right now, and they're trying to force them off. And right now, Defiable, Hob, and Co are doing a good job, and we're going to stick with this fight until there's a resolution or until somebody rotates away, because that's all that matters. Unless one of the other 3 is in an engagement, they want this win. And honestly, you want to get kind of box to box with that epic tack on Epic Whale, but you don't want to risk that situation. As you can see, Rex able to get a good shot in there, but they're able to kind of push out towards them. You can see Rex doing a very good job of defensively fighting away. He wants to take bump shots, he wants to trade it out, but nobody is committing. They're not ending up in a situation where they can get wall to wall and get overwhelmed, because I honestly, that's the only situation they lose on these fights. But they need to be careful. Baldy's sneaking out the back, and I think they lost track of where he was. Epic Whale is very exposed. Baldy has the opportunity to get it, but nope, Epic Whale able to cover it off. And we need to be careful, because riding right around the corner, you see Frappi, you see Symmetrical, and you see Alithi. They're saying, hey, what's over there? And we could get the Weeping Woods of Season 5 all over again, where everyone claps on top of each other, and all of a sudden we have a 3v3v3 for what could be the 4X run.
And they immediately say, no, thank you. No, we are getting out of here. We are disengaging. They used a lot of materials, and albeit for a great reason, but as soon as Alethi was spotted, that disengage needed to come through, and it did. Because they know what's on the line. Them, of all people, know as soon as the third party comes in, they have to leave. But they're still keeping a close eye because they can now be the third party.
And that's particularly because when you look at how they fight their 3v3s, yes, their controlling style is very good, but it leaves them so vulnerable to those third parties that if somebody does time it correctly and they're able to kind of get the shots on one of those key members as they're trying to get kind of that enveloping and pincer strategy going on, it's nearly impossible to recover in that situation because you have to close the gap to your teammate and box them up to kind of prevent them from being pushed. And if they're already trying to contain one other trio and that trio pushes them down, it's tough. And now we're going to swing on over because Storm Surge is off. We're not dealing with first round Surge, which again puts a little bit of a crinkle into the game plan because these teams, while yes, they're going to be keeping track of their own damage, right? You don't get that kind of temperature check now until the 5th zone. You have no idea how much damage you're going to end up needing, and that 5th zone is going to get very awkward if we're above the 50-player threshold.
Kenshi's got to go now. Wheels, Caleb, and Taltai did not want that one player up above him. And Kenshi, if he did not make that move, that was them getting eliminated. And this is worrisome. Caleb, Taltai, and Wheels know they need to make a play early in this game if they want to have a shot in getting to those upper echelon of placement points, rather even upper echelon of placement money, because they are not having the best of runs. They're still performing really, really well and still doing great at 13th place. But if you take down first place, what a statement.
Well, and it would signal the dinner bell as well for Arkham Rex, Epic Whale, Falconer, Reet, and Chris, because all of a sudden, if that first place team, like if Kenshi, Snacky, and Favs do end up falling, all of a sudden, right, there's not as much of this exorbitant pressure to go get all of these eliminations, because if you make it and just get the victory royale, that's a 30-point difference going through, and we talked about it. The difference between third and first right now is 32 points, and if you get a victory royale in almost all of these circumstances, you're getting at least 2 eliminations. I don't think we've seen a victory royale with less than 2 eliminations, maybe in the entirety of this FNCS. I would be wrong, but it's such an absurd... Chris just got sniped. Chris got sniped. Flip over to that immediately if we get an opportunity, because Red was able to get a knock onto Chris. We don't know if there's a shot going through. We heard the heavy bullet popping off, but we need to know if they're able to get the confirmation or if they can get him back up on his feet. Right now you can see Snacky, Favs, and Co. are fine. They are able to get him up. You see the warning on the right-hand side, 28 damage to be below, but only one player needs to fall. Storm Surge isn't going to be in play there. However, Chris is back up on his feet. Thank you so much, observers, for the quick swap over, but just needed to ensure that he wasn't the one going down.
It's because of those reboots coming through. That's why we have Storm Surge. Everyone was fine, and then all of a sudden someone was like, you know what, let's make it a little bit more interesting, bring that Storm Surge back, and now players will get that temperature check like you talked about. They'll get that opportunity to figure out, hey, we're this far above, we're good, depending where they are.
And don't forget as well, keeping an eye on the top left-hand corner, we're going to keep talking about the number of players who are there as well as the number of trios who are there. We're inside the top 24, which means the biggest chunk of that first placement points, that the biggest individual chunk you get, that +5, it's already gone over to the other team. So Favs, Kenshi, Snacky, boom, you've checked that one off. You got at least the +5 there. That's 5 points that players aren't going to be able to close the gap on. And right now you can see Rex Arkham and Epic Whale, they're stalking this trio. They're looking for an opportunity to jump on pucks of Nick John Co. And honestly, if they take that taxi on a straight line away from, that's so many free shots. Unfortunately, unable to connect with the snipe. They are going to throw some heavy bullets through with that heavy AR and not quite able to connect. So still no eliminations going on, but with the temperature check on the Storm Surge, things get a little bit less awkward for the later game, but we're still just holding our breaths because, as we've seen with our top 3 trios, they've been playing endgame pretty much every single time.
Storm Surge will finally turn off with that, so getting knocked and then confirmed in the feed. And we swap back over, and my initial thought is, why are they still here? But you saw they invested a lot of materials in that fight and didn't really have a way of recuperating them until they got back over to Believer Beach. And with this next zone coming through, they're not on their usual rotation path. They're a little bit behind. Arkham, not going to hit the snipe there. It would have been the go-ahead for a lot more damage for them. And luckily enough, no one has taken advantage of that rotation in front of them. So even though he's throwing these shots off, they're fine on their rotation. They can white light into zone. But they haven't been playing edge of zone this season. This is one of the first times we'll see their edge of zone play.
Yeah, I think they should end up being fine. And just kind of looking through some of the placements while we have a little bit of a breather here. I mean, it's really hard to understate just how dominant of a performance our top three have had. Looking at Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky's scores, we talked about kind of their worst games yesterday, still being above placement thresholds, right? With that 23rd place, still giving the +5 and the 17th place, plus the 3 elims. So far today, 10th place, 7 elims. First place, 6 elims. Fourth place, 10 elims. Second place, 8 elims. 10th place, 8 elims. That is bonkers. And then you go over, you look at Arkham, Rex, Epic Whale. Their worst placement was that 18th place, 3 elims match. Outside of that, they have 2 11th places. Everything else is inside a top 10, with almost all of them being right around kind of either a 5th or 6th with 2 victory royales. Flipping over to Falcon or Reet and Chris, who is not somebody known for always making endgames. Clay, their worst placements were still the ones we talked about yesterday. The 13th plus the 12th, where you're in the cascading placement points. If you look at their scores today, 7th place, 7th place, 5th place, 1st place, 6th place. We have effectively seen one game. There has been one game this entire tournament where our top 3 teams have not made it at least into the moving zones and into the end game situation. Otherwise, all 3 of them have been in there getting cascading placement points or right around the threshold. That is absurd for the course of 12 games, and it looks like we're on that pace again.
Caleb, Taltai, and Wills wanted to play spoiler there, but couldn't find Kenshi, Snacky, and Favs. They're right on the other side, though. This is getting congested. This is uncomfortable for a lot of these trios. They want a little bit more space to operate with, but there's not a lot left on this side of the zone. We'll pan through to see where Chris, Reet, and Falconer are. They're kind of alone on their little island of builds. Zone closes in 30 seconds. They're set up well, but again, they've invested a lot of materials early. And
it is me,
just not
SJ
sure.
hyphen.
It's not here. They had to have done it somewhere else because this is not a lot of build.
Yeah, it's not a lot of builds in this area of the map in particular. Your refarming rate is garbaggio at best. It is just not good. This area gets scrapped so quickly. There's very few sources of metal. I mean, there's a couple fences, a couple trees, but even then, all of the rocks in this area, they aren't those big chunky like +22 special swings ones. They're all like +8. So it's just like even investing into brick, you're like, oh, I should be fine. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think I'll find something to be able to rotate through. And that just doesn't end up being the case. But 4th zone drops right on top of Reek, Falconer, and Chris. They're right on the edge, which is generally where you want to be for the 4th zone, because the half in, half out, rather than continue to pull concentrically, ends up going around the outside. And the observers do a great job of kind of giving us the lay of the land. As we see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trios, interior 7 trios if you count the duo towards the bottom, interior to the safe zone. Everyone else is on the outside, so expect some early rotations to get there. It looks like somebody maybe even launch padding. They were moving quick.
Look at the edge of zone. Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex once again being aggressive. This is a very interesting push, and if this goes wrong at any moment of time, this could be their run. They're trying to find that they know they need eliminations. They know they can't be content with just that victory royale. They've got to push. And right now they're just pushing for the zone. They don't want to be too aggressive, but they know that team behind can cause them some trouble.
They have been hawking Nickjaw, Fluxy, and Puxum this entire time. Oh, but Puxum's right on the other side. That was a monster shot. Arkham just got abused there. Puxum took the entirety of his shield. That was a huge 102 tag, and all of a sudden, their backs are to the zone. This is going to be so incredibly hard. However, he has plenty of excess shields. He's immediately going to be able to top it off, and they want to get aggressive. They will get the check here. We'll see 143 below, but I believe that should update and potentially tick above, but Puxum, Flixie need to be careful as this rotation is towards the outside, and they're drawing a decent amount of attention. Epic Whale is trying to work ahead, but I'm not sure if they know they're in the bush. I think they have an inkling there. Rex, building off, cutting it off. They know they're trying to set a trap, and honestly, I think this is where they go. You can see Puxum taking damage, and Arkham wants to get wall to wall. They're going to take this fight. They're going to look to dive in, or at least get right in on the edge of safe zone, but they need to be careful because shots are already raining from the outside. I'm not sure they can really afford. They can afford to commit to this, and just nobody on their southeastern side. If they didn't have space over there, it'd be tough, but Clay, they're actually below Surge. 20 seconds. They need to go. This is it.
Nice shots there from Rex. That's going to put him up a little bit, but still below 101 That car's going to blow up. That's going to be a lot of damage. If anybody's in that wood, they have to keep going. 34. They may have staved it off for now, but they got to keep going. And a third party coming into their third party is going to be awkward. This makes this fight very unfavorable for everyone involved. Shots coming through. Look at how many angles they have. This is so good. If they can get both of the teams there, that would be so good. But I think it was just one. No, they're going in. They're going to get more. This could be 6 eliminations for Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex if they're able to do it. That is a big point swing right there.
What happened there is the team tried to push on the backside knowing that they were pressured by Storm Surge. I think the team on the inside also pushed. Doesn't matter, ignore it. Snacky's down, Fabs is down. It's all on Kenshi, our top trio. They held on for 11 games. He hits the launch pad right away. He creates a distance, throw it up in the air. It's a Yahtzee. It doesn't matter. Everything is coming down the last game. Kenshi is going to have to put up the solo performance of a lifetime. But we talked about it last season. We talk about it every single season. What do Trains, Epic Whale, and his trio and Angels have in common? They go one direction, and they are absolute. Kenshi is trying to hold on, but 2 eliminations in the +5 isn't going to be enough. He has 16 brick. He has 130 effective HP, and he has a dream for an FNCS pickaxe, but I don't think that dream is going to come true. It's a nightmare situation unfolding as they get dropped on, as Epic Whale & Co. get gifted, absolutely gifted 12 points, and we're going to stick with Kenshi because this is it.
What a moment. It has happened every FNCS. There's been a moment where Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex have been given it to go ahead with the lead. This could be it. If Kenshi goes down here, the 4 time is even more of a possibility. Kenshi is holding on. You can feel the nerves from them, the tension. It is there. Kenshi is holding his entire team on his shoulder with 16 builds. I don't think he has a launch pad left either.
We do see one in the inventory, but we know he already was able to utilize one. We know for a fact as well that Epic Whale and his trio were able to pick up 6 eliminations. You see Kenshi and Co. have the 2, so you're able to get kind of an 8-point swing going through there. But right now, honestly, we talk about 12 points. That's the gap, and it's not enough. And you can see that Reet and Co. actually able to get a knock into Hyper. That's in the bottom left-hand part of your screen. They're picking up elims as well. We could get some late dramatics here in West. Again, Kenshi, center of your screen there. He's solo. He's first place, and he's just trying to hold on for whatever placement points. Wants to get into that top 17 first. It's +3 there, and then cascading. He's got a sniper rifle out. He's playing the backside of the zone. Playing with a hope and a prayer. Short pad, only has 2 ticks to take the zone. Honestly couldn't afford to take that. Lands almost directly on top of a box, trying to create distance from himself. Doesn't want to be anywhere near someone. But look at Storm Surge on the right-hand side. He has to pray that people just go down, because he's not getting 600 damage. The people aren't going to fall. But as I talk about it, able to get a knock, every single point mattering. If he can get to the side. Oh, he's down!
He's on!
He couldn't get the siphon! First place is out! Give us the screen, but they're in danger too! 56 health for the legendary loadout on Rex. They're going to run through. 3 points available if 2 more trios go down. Storm Surge will turn off with 2 trios falling as well. 6 eliminations. The 4-time champs looking to make it 4-time trio champs with the late game surge. Top 17 is +3. Every single trio that drops is +1. It is a battle between 100 Thieves, Arkham, Rex, Energy's Epic Whale, Falconer, Reet, and Chris to try and overtake Fast, Kenshi, and Snacky. And the points are going to pour on. Give us the 2 box and let us see what they're doing.
What can they find? What can Falconer do to try to make a play? Honestly, Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex really need to just hold on and get to that last little bit of moment, that top 10, that top 5 where they will operate. But Falconer, Reet, and Chris want to find elims as well. They need to find the elims because it is not enough to just win for them. They have to play catch up. They were about 40 points behind coming in, 20 there from Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex. Where are they? What are they doing?
They were 32 down coming into it, 20 from Falconer and Co. But you can see now they're trying to push through. Up on the high ground, there they are. Arkham, Rex, Epic Whale. Nobody is looking up. They're marching forward. Reet Falconer and Chris are hip to hip on the low ground. They will have the potential to get some more eliminations, but we're pulling into open space. We're not going over old builds. Falconer only has what they're looking to find it. Moni picks up 2 on the symmetrical and Frapline, but with eliminations ticking over, Arkham finds 1. This is going to be it. Rex finds Jagbeer. The 4-time individuals are about to become 4 times trios as we're pulling over the top. Can Falconer and Chris steal away the victory royale? But I'm not sure it's going to matter.
Look, Rex is going down. They're sending Rex because they know how good he is. They said, get down, go for any eliminations you can. They're trying to put damage down with Falconer and Chris, but it doesn't matter. You see Moni going down. They're going up. Chris taking down very low. Shots coming through. That's going to be under Rex. That's a big one there. Arkham and Epic Whale really need to clutch up here. They have to keep getting these elims. A win would be so good, but if they don't get the elims, they need to find something that's going to be Jelty going down. Falconer doing so well. Reed doing well as well, but look at the zone. It's in Arkham Epic Whale's favor. Arkham's gonna find another. It's a 3v2. Arkham and Epic Whale need this win right here. They need these elims. They have the tools. Can they do it? Shots come through. That's gonna be Epic Whale going down. Arkham trying to find something. He's getting boxed out. Will it be enough? Arkham goes down. Falconer, Reed, and Chris win.
That's gotta be it. That's got to be it, right? With the 8 eliminations and the victory royale, it's going to be so incredibly close. I'm unsure. I was doing the math in my head, able to take it down. That's a 36-point swing. We know they got at least enough pushing through. I need to see the leaderboard. Normally, I'm able to definitively call it, but I don't know, Clay. It came down to the absolute final moment, a 3v2 with our top teams, and normally we can confidently say, but I'm sitting here like,
I have no idea either. At that moment, it just was math. I mean, math is going to be the defining factor. But either way, what an amazing finish from everyone here in NA West. What an amazing finals. They made Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex work for it. And so we'll see, are they the 4th time or are they not? We'll find out in moments. But we got to send it back to Zeke, Kelly, and Panda to break it down one more time.
Clay, Sundown, thank you guys so much for the incredible 6 games out of NA West. We're building moments away. It came down to the wire here. 3 teams going head to head. Arkham, Rex, Epic Whale, your 3 times back-to-back champions, looking to make it a 4. Falconer, Reed, Chris, looking to finally take a win away from this seemingly unstoppable trio. The question is, did they do it? Were they able to hold this team back and say, you guys have done it? We're about to find out in just a little bit. Kelly, Panda, this is so stressful.
I have just goosebumps everywhere. I'm sweaty and clammy and I can't breathe. I think I might be having a heart attack right now because everything that we wanted in that last game is what happened, right? We have no idea. With Kenshi going down early, unfortunately dealing with Storm Surge once again, and having Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale on the height, and then Falconer. What?
The 4th time back-to-back champions, breaking 407 points. They set the record for the most points across all regions this season's finals. I cannot believe that they did the unthinkable, Kelly.
I need to see the leaderboard. We need to see how close this is right now. Oh my gosh.
You're kidding me!
A 10-point difference, Panda.
A 10-point difference defining whether or not they were going to be the 4th time, and they are the 4-time reigning NA West FNCS champions. Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale taking it home and taking a big chunk of the prize with them. Oh my gosh, what? Down to the wire. But you know you're feeling it. If you're Fast, Kenshi, and Snacky, going down early in that final is tough.
Oh man, but the fact that they went down early and still were only 5 points behind Falconer, Reed, and Chris, who just grabbed the victory royale. Oh, and it happened. All top 3 teams, they got 2 victory royales each. That's what I wanted. Everything that I wanted is happening, and I'm the happiest that I've ever been.
So just to break that down, right? Kelly, we were talking about this, and Kelly wanted 6 of the eliminations to go to the top 3 teams, or the victory royales, I mean, and they did. So all 3 of those top teams got 2 victory royales each, meaning half the games played resulted in victory royales to one of these 3 teams. That is just insane to think about.
Oh my gosh, I'm in disbelief right now. Arkham Rex and Epic Whale do it once again, and you saw them slowly going down. The fact that they sent Rex down to grab some eliminations and then he went out, I was like, oh, this is it. They're gonna lose it. They're not gonna get it. But then you, of course, have Epic Whale and Ark still holding up on height. Ark now being the only one as a solo player and still grabbing eliminations. But my goodness, we have to look at all of the victory royales that we saw today, starting off with Alithi, Frappi, and Symmetrical's team.
I mean, just so many great plays taking place. Like this one here, like with Kenshi Favs getting the victory royale, taking Arkham out of the sky, just an impressive shot there. And then, of course, got to jump over to Jelty Chicken and Andy doing an exceptional job, putting in the work, controlling being in zone, not taking unnecessary damage, and ultimately getting this victory royale.
Andy grabbing 8 eliminations alone. And speaking about solo players and their performance right here on the low ground, do not give him a pump because you know he's just going to take you out. But here we have it. Arkham Rex and Epic Whale in game 11, holding high, playing just so smart, so easy, and then finishing it off with 11 eliminations.
Yeah, I mean, that's just massive to consider, right? And then here it is, this game with Falconer, Ree, and Chris getting the final eliminations, taking that home, but it wasn't enough. It did get them a second place, though, but we have to talk about them. We have to talk about the champs, Arkham Rex, Epic Whale, FNCS champs 15 times between the 3 of them. That means between the 3 of them, if you add up all of their championships, they've done it 15 times in total. That is just crazy to think.
Yeah, the 4 times with like they've done it with 3, so that's 12 right there. And then again, they've gone the solo FNCS and the duos FNCS. That's okay. It's it. They're the best in the West.
I feel like there's no question, you know? Like, I feel like that is... It's undisputed, but Kelly, something I actually love that you pointed out before, like at 2 games ago, was how the margins were getting thinner and thinner. And now to only have won by 10 points, that's not the significant lead we've seen in the past.
Not just that, not just only winning by 10 points, but it was an 80-point difference between 3rd and 4th after game 10, and then it went down to a 100-point difference after game 11. It is a 115-point difference between 3rd and 4th place right now. Although Arkham Rex and Epic Whale are the kings, Falconer, Ree, and Chris, as well as Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky, are definitely the princes of West.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to agree with you there.
Something like that indeed. But here we go. A look at all of the champions from all 7 regions. Opie, Fies, and GSX coming in from Brazil. We saw that at the top of show. But my goodness, all around another incredible season of the FNCS. This wraps up Chapter 2, Season 7. Once again, congratulations to every single champion. But we cannot deny Falconer, Reed, and Chris coming in at 2nd. And then Favs, Kenshi, and Snacky. These 3 teams 100 points ahead of the next 4th place team. Absolutely insane. Undisputed the top 3 best trios in NA West. Fortnite fam, we love you guys so much. Thank you for allowing us to go on this journey that is the FNCS. This means that the competition has come to a close. I know, it's sad to say goodbye, but there's always next time. Now, of course, before we do say goodbye, don't forget to give Kelly and Panda a follow. Give Clay and Sundown a follow as well. We love all of the people that help us bring this show to life and talk through all the incredible action that is Fortnite. We love you all so very dearly. Thank you for letting us hang out with you guys, Party Royale. We love you guys as well. And until next time, we'll see you guys on the battle bus.
Alright, so guys, that was the FNCS that we watched. I hope you all enjoyed it. That is the end of FNCS, right? Yeah. just do a copyrighted emote on there? Are they gonna get canceled on Twitch for doing that? Content ID and all that junk. Like Scoop, I've been canceled on Twitch. Anyways, guys, that was the FNCS. It did end, right? I didn't just leave prematurely and all that. Yeah, that was the end of it. Alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching the FNCS on the channel. Certainly not a thing that I always do, but it's good to do it. Also, you could have watched FNCS on Twitch with a linked Fortnite account for some rewards. I did a whole video explaining how I got those. Want to go check that out. And they do this for every FNCS, so whenever FNCS or a big Twitch moment is happening, definitely go and see if you can claim those rewards. Because they're definitely worth it. Anyways, my batteries are low. I'm getting ready to go. Don't have a good day, have a great day. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.